Hello and welcome back to Zelda II, The Adventure of Link. You'll notice that the palace closed over there, so the island palace, once you get the raft and you place the crystal inside the statue, you cannot go back to it. So be sure you're done with everything you need to do in there before you exit, or you will not be able to go back in. In this part, I'm not going to be doing another palace. There's a bunch of stuff I can do before I go to the next palace, so that's what I'll be doing instead. I'm going to be visiting a couple of different towns. I'm going to be getting some points bags and some other miscellaneous items. So that's what I'll be doing. Right now I'm making my way over to the next town in the game. It is the town of Nabooru, named after the desert sage in Ocarina of Time, Nabooru, of course. So you remember, this is the cave under the king's tomb, and that's exactly where we pop out from. And I'm gonna make my way north. There's all these moes here, and they give a ton of experience if you manage to kill them. 10 each. Not bad. So now that I have the raft, I can go to Eastern Hyrule. And this is a brand new part of the game. Immediately, you're gonna want to... Well, first there's this new enemy here, the little fly-looking things are called boons, and then you also saw a Tektite, which are familiar enemies from the first game, the little spider-like creatures that jump around. But anyways, this screen you see is just a solitary forest in the middle of a grassy land, and it has this points bag here. So anytime you see an odd screen like that, like this little forest right here in the middle of nowhere, you want to go there, because there's obviously going to be a secret there. There's also a secret here, a fairy, in case you're running low on life. You can come here and grab the fairy, restore your health. And now I can make my way over to this town over here, Nabooru. And there's a bunch of townspeople here that will give you some advice. And I'll be talking with all of them so you can see. So there's this little gremlin guy here. He says, walk on water with boots. So, yes. He plans on being Jesus. He's referring to an item that you can get. It's the boots, and it allows you to literally walk on water. So that's that. That lady will restore your magic as always. Every town has an old lady that restores magic and a young lady that restores health. And this lady over here is completely lazy. She says, I am thirsty. This one says, please save our town. But the thirsty lady has this beautiful, magnificent fountain right next to her, and she refuses to come over here for water. So Link can come over here, grab some water for her, bring it back, give it to her, and once you give her water, she lets you inside her house. If only dating was that easy. So this allows you to get the ability from the wise man in this town. And this is one of the more useful abilities, I think. This is the fire spell. If you use this, you can shoot fire from your sword. It does a ton of damage. It will kill certain enemies in only one hit. So it's very useful. Good stuff. So there's more advice we can get from the townspeople here. I'm going to be talking to a few more of them. There's another little pipsqueak. He says, jump in a hole in the palace. He's referring to the Great Palace. There are certain holes in the ground that you can jump through to take you to different areas of the palace, and you'll see that in the last video of this playthrough once I finally do go through the Great Palace. This lady says, see a man in Darunia before the islands. So she's referring to the special ability there that we can get. So that's what I'll be doing once I go to Darunia. That one lady says that the river devil will eat anybody who disturbs him, so she's referring to the little devil right outside this town. And right here there's a bat, and if you remember, we pestered the little blob earlier in one of the towns, and now we can pester this bat here. And he says that you can find a heart piece on the water. So once we have the boots and we can walk on water, we can actually get a heart container on the water that way as well. And this guy knows nothing. So there's the river devil towards the bottom left. We'll be coming back to him later. There's a Tektite I mentioned earlier from the first Zelda game. They're back in this one. They'll be back in other Zelda games. But you can see if you use the fire spell, it's super easy to kill stuff. Just one hit and bam, they're done for. 50 experience points for these guys. You'll notice that I am leveling up my magic and health now because I maxed out my sword at level 8. 8's an odd number to be max. I always thought that it should have gone up to 9, but it maxes out at 8, so I'm now working on my magic and my life. And here is another new enemy. And you can just downward thrust him. He's called a Sketlar, actually. And I came here just for a points bag. So, a lot of more experience points. I definitely recommend getting it. Just from killing the Tektites and that Sketlar guy and the points bag, you get a ton of experience in here. So, definitely recommend coming to this cave if you're following this as a walkthrough. Alright, now I'm going to come this way. There's nothing required this way either. There's just some optional things that I'm going to be getting. Here we encounter a new enemy, the Lever, making a comeback from Zelda 1. And as always, the Levers are found in desert areas in Zelda games. So you can see this desert screen, the Levers pop up out of the ground, as they normally do. Pretty easy to kill with downward thrust. They give 10 experience each. So it's worth killing them. And this is going to take me to another points bag. This path that I'm taking right now. And you see I stick around and kill these Levers just for the experience. So once you make all the way across here, you can use the jump spell. I think you can actually make this jump without using the jump spell, but it's kind of hard. So I just went ahead and used it anyways. And there's a nice points bag here, 500 points, so it's definitely worth going all the way over here. And as you can see, just like that, my magic and my life are already to level 4. And at the start of this video, they were both at level 1, so I've gotten a ton of experience just from collecting points bags and taking some detours here and there. Recommend you do the same. Next thing I'm going to be collecting is another Link doll. If you'll remember, it's just a little doll that looks like Link, and it's an extra life in the game. I don't need it, but I am collecting all of them because this is a 100% playthrough and I want to get everything, so. It's right up here in this cave. I gotta make my way across it, actually. Just see me pop up on the other side of it. There are these red eggs in here, and as always, just make sure you kill them before they hit the ground so they don't turn into the little devil and shoot fire at you. So you can make a way across that cave. There's some moas here. Or not moas. Forgot what these guys are called for a second here. I don't know. They're not the moas though. The moas are the ones that drop the fire. And you can only hit them when their eyes are open, obviously, as you can see here. You can even downward thrust them once the eye is open. Hit them from above. And that kills them. I just got impatient with those. I decided to just leave them. Leave them be. So here's that Link doll I was talking about. It gives you an extra life in case you've been dying a lot. And then you can make a way across this bridge. There's a maze here. You'll want to follow the exact path I'm taking because there's a bunch of weird screens here that you can't see. But there's a specific place you want to go to. Right here you can drop down. And there's some good stuff for you to collect. This is a Zalfos right here. It's a lizard-like enemy. You'll see him in many other Zelda games in the future. And he is guarding this child. It's just a lost, kidnapped child. And Link doesn't have a backpack or anything, and the kid just disappears. I don't know what Link did with the kid. I'm hoping he put him inside his hat instead of down his pants, or that would just be weird. But anyways, once you've rescued this kidnapped child, you can make your way back across this maze. The kidnapped child is required from the town of Darunia. There's a mother who lost her child, and you have to rescue him pretty much, so that's what we did. And right here there's a magic container. It's the second to last one in the game. You'll see it on the top of the screen that only need one more block of magic to have all of them. And I can make my way over to the town of Darunia. It's the mountain town of Darunia, so it kind of matches the theme from the Sage and Ocarina of Time. Darunia, of course, the Goron, the king of the Gorons that lives in Death Mountain. So anyways, the town is just westward, so just make your way west and past this little labyrinth here, this little path. I guess it's trying to simulate a mountainous area by having that little tortuous path with all the rocks around it. That jump can be a little tricky, don't be deceived by it. And there's those annoying bubbles in this screen, so you want to be careful when you're jumping so you don't get knocked into the water, because you automatically die and lose a life if you do fall in the water. Link can save the world and defeat mighty foes, but obviously, apparently he can't swim. Which is kind of silly. So here's the mountain town of Darunia. There's a bunch of things we can do here. And this lady once again begs you to save the town. We'll try to do that. So this house, you notice it's strange, it's empty. Huh. Haven't really seen an empty house yet. There's a reason why it's empty, and we'll see that momentarily. This lady says stop by for a while. She's the one that heals your health in this town. And this lady, again, gives another hint about the devil. Says the devil does not like sound, and that's a hint. You can use the flute to make the devil go away. And this is the lady that restores your magic in this town. This guy says the palace has a false wall, and he is talking about a false wall in the Ocean Palace, which we will be headed to next. There's false walls there. There's also a bunch of false walls in the Great Palace. But anyways, use your jump spell, jump up on the rooftops like a ninja, drop down this chimney like Santa Claus, and here you will find a great warrior to teach you a new sword ability. So this guy says when you jump, press up to stab, and obviously this is the upward thrust, much like the downward thrust, but instead of pressing down, you press up and you can stab up at the air, like this, and it makes it easier to kill those MOAs that just fly around at the top of the screen dropping fire. You can now jump up and smack them with your sword using the upward thrust. So anyways, about that empty house that I told you, there's actually nothing in there, it's just an empty house. I just wanted to pretend like there was something exciting there to keep you guys around and not exiting my video. Yes, I can be sly. So here's the old lady whose son we rescued and stuffed either down her trousers or in her hat. She seems a little bit old to be having babies. I don't know, but I don't know, maybe she's just very fertile, who knows. But once you rescue the child and you talk to her, you can come in here and learn a new ability. And this ability is actually required for the next palace. This magic strengthens your shield, and you can actually, it's the reflect spell, and it allows you to reflect some certain magical abilities that enemies will throw at you. So that's pretty much it for Darunia in this video. And I appreciate you guys watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this Zelda playthrough. I'll be doing all the other Zelda games as well, so be sure to subscribe. This guy says a powerful knight lives in this town. We already dropped him a visit through his chimney. He was referring to the upward thrust guy. So anyways, if you like Zelda, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'll be playing through all the Zelda games eventually. So thanks again.